Please archive this video. Here are some links and visit www.archive.org and search The Cosmic Collector to read the PDF document this video was built from. Hello dear friends, I am here to reveal to you how to make an energy collecting device, one that can generate 90,000 watts at 1,500 volts at a height of 36 feet. It's time we take off the chains that bind us. Time to step into the light of ancient wisdom. Time to rid ourselves of the blinders put there to keep us enslaved. Many people are now awakening, and the time for disclosure is now. The device I will describe will be for receiving power from the universe of energy that is omnipresent. How to construct the Cosmic Collector. Height 36 feet. Generating 90,000 watts at 1,500 volts at 6 feet sea level by the coast. The Cosmic Collector is made up of one copper tube wrapped in a coil, laying in a Teflon dish, one metal plate buried flat in the ground, one 12-volt deep-cycle lead-acid battery, two safety disconnect switches, high-voltage circuit breakers, a good-sized quantity of quartz crystals and quartz sand, one 1N4007 diode, 12 gauge, 12 Aug copper wire, 30 feet, 6 gauge, 6 Aug copper wire, 10 feet, 2 gauge, 2 Aug copper wire, 50 feet, 4 Schottky full wave bridge rectifier 95SQ015 diodes, made by Vishay, 1 large ECM also known as a brushless DC motor, a few dozen copper screws, 8 copper wing nuts, 2 dozen copper nuts, several copper saddle clips, 3 4, 6 6-volt batteries, 1 DC to AC inverter, 1 CRT flyback transformer, 1 auto transfer switch, 40 feet of 3-inch PVC pipe, 1 sliding ring joint. Construction. To construct the coil, you will need 51.25 feet of 3/4-inch diameter copper tubing, ideally a very soft copper, called Type K annealed copper tubing. Most likely you will find 60 feet of Type L copper tubing coiled in a box at a hardware store such as Lowe's. This is fine, it is just harder to bend. There are different types of copper. 6 tempers: soft, cold rolled, high yield, half hard, 3/4 hard, and hard. Take the copper tubing and wind it in a right-hand spiral, keeping 7/8 to 1 inch spacing in between the layer so of the coil. This even spacing is important and is called the reluctance gap. This helps create the vortex. The coil needs to have 9 turns, and total 37.5 inches in diameter. Magnetic reluctance aka magnetic resistance is a concept used in the analysis of magnetic circuits. It is analogous to resistance in an electrical circuit, but rather than dissipating magnetic energy it stores magnetic energy. In likeness to the way an electric current to follow the path of least resistance, a magnetic field causes magnetic flux to follow the path of least magnetic reluctance. As you will notice, this coil has much more surface area than a regular copper wire coil as used in a Bedini monopole. Surface area is vital to harnessing energy in this device. You may either have a custom copper coil made for you, or more cheaply you and your friends can bend it yourselves. You can create a bending jig guide out of wood. See figure 2. The trick is to head and bend the copper slowly. Make very slight and gentle bends at increments of a few millimeters. Tape ends of the tube and fill up to 2 inches from the top with sand. This helps prevent the walls from kinking up when you bend the copper. There are 2 types of copper tube benders, the lever type and the spring type. Plumbers often use a big spring that the tube will fit snugly inside. The spring stops the walls of the tube from crushing. When finished the bend the spring comes off. The lever type is preferred as it is easier and more accurate, however more expensive. Another technique is to fill it with a mix of water and soap and freeze. This mix supports the pipe during bending but was slightly flexible and just melted out after processing. This is how they bend metal for trombones. Search online for the copper tube handbook.pdf and read. If you want to get a custom coil manufactured for you, familiarize yourself with coil notation to help communicate with a fabricator, such as http://www.coppertubecoils.com/ or do an online search for custom copper coils. Next you will need a good amount of quartz crystals, along with quartz sand. Quartz crystals can be bought by the bag, unwashed or wholesale from mining companies, such as http://jimcolemancrystals.com/. Crystals that are clear near the tips are best, generally the clearer they are the better. You can also search wholesale quartz crystals on eBay, Amazon, Google Shopping, etc. For the quartz sand you want natural quartz sand that is sold in pet stores for reptile habitats. One such brand is ReptiSand. Crimp vertically flat the first 3 inches of the center of the copper coil. Insert as many of your larger quartz in through the open end of the coil as you can. Ideally you want all the quartz points facing the same way. Experiment which way is better. The blunt end of the crystal is the negative and the point end of the crystal is the positive. Now, pour the quartz sand in through the same opening you inserted the large crystals through, filling up the coil, leaving 3 inches at the end of the tube open. In a similar experiment Thomas Trellewanger used a CB radio and an amplifier to send powerful high-frequency energy through the copper tube, so when he poured the quartz sand in, all the quartz particles aligned in the same direction, along the flow of the electricity. The experiment was called the Trellewanger Power Pyramid. http://www.youtube.be/caxekgwpqrs. With the crystals in the tube, crimp vertically flat the last 3 remaining inches of the tube. Then drill 2 1/4-inch holes as shown in Figure 3, on both ends of the coil. Attach 1/4-inch copper screws with 2 copper wing nuts per screw, and insert the bolt halfway through the hole as shown in Figure 3. You can purchase copper screws and copper wing nuts online from tattoo supply companies. On both ends of the coil, wrap some thick rubber bands between the bolts on both ends to keep the transference of power from the charging battery to the motor through the coil. The rubber bands act as a topology insulator. http://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/topological_insulator, as shown in Fig 4c. Then, on the outside end of the coil, strip the ends of 2 12-gauge wires and wrap 1 wire around each side of the bolt on the positive end of the coil. Tighten the wing nuts to secure the wires and the bolt to the tube as shown in Figure 3b. On the inside end of the coil, wrap 2 12-gauge wires around the inner bolt, closest to the beginning of the crimp, and wrap 1 wire around the second bolt closest to the edge, as shown in Figure 4b. These wires will be used later. When built, the coil needs to be pointing to the east. Now that you have made the coil, with the loose wires, we will build a dish that the coil will sit in. This dish is important as it is made of a high dielectric material that polarizes the shape of electron flow, and gives shape to the magnetic reluctance, creating a vortex. Originally, the dish was just over the 3-foot diameter of the coil, blue in color, custom made out of Teflon, and was very expensive. However, in theory the dish could be made out of a material with a dielectric constant greater than or equal to Teflon. Here is a table of materials and their dielectric constant. A dielectric constant is how much a material polarizes electron flow. One such theory would be to carve a dish out of styrofoam, polystyrene, using hot wire foam cutting tools, and brushing on silicone rubber over it, and reinforcing the back with wood. You can purchase large sheets of styrofoam from the roofing and insulation section at hardware stores. Hot wire foam cutting tools can be bought online, such as Hot Wire Foam Factory, or in hobby stores. Silicone rubber can be bought from Silicones Inc. http://www.silicones-inc.com/ Their product is P656. It comes in 2 parts you mix together to create the silicone rubber. This foam silicon wood method has not been tested, it is purely a theory at this time. If you want to go the expensive route and get a custom Teflon dish made, you could look at Welch Fluorocarbons Incorporated, http://www.welchfluorocarbon.com/custom manufacturing to make one for you. The shape of the dish, as you will see in Figure 5, is an inversion of the shape of the coil, so the coil can rest inside. The spacing of the dish helps keep the gaps in the coil uniform. The grooves in the coil are 3/16 of an inch deep, so the 3/4 inch tubing with just over half of it sticking out. See Figure 6. Be sure to build a dish after you have built the coil. It will make the shaping of the dish much easier. All the materials used in and around the coil must be copper or a dielectric. Any other types of metals would be dispersing the flow of current, instead of flowing in a controlled uniform direction. To secure the coil to the dish, use 3/4 inch copper saddle clips to fit around the contour of the tubing. Secure them using copper bolts drilled through the dish, appropriate to fit in the diameter of the holes of the copper saddle clips and long enough to reach through to the back of the dish, into the 2-inch thick support arm. Secure the clips in several places throughout the coil along the contour of the arm, to make sure it's secure. Another theoretical method is to create a dish from a flat piece of polypropylene corrugated plastic cut into a circle slightly larger than the diameter of the coil. Then, create a wall or lip around the perimeter of the dish using a temporary material. Lay the coil in the polypropylene tub. Drill a hole in the center of the tub where the center of the coil lines up and drill another hole in the wall of the tub near the outer end of the coil. Plug the holes tightly with a dielectric material. Spray Chemi 980 urethane release agent only on the walls of the tub. Then pour epoxy resin into the tub until the coil is halfway submerged in the epoxy. Allow it to harden and remove the wall. This type of method has similarities to constructing orgone shapes. As for the polypropylene supporting the resin dish, you can stack layers with 3M Scotch Weld DP8005 adhesive to make it as strong and thick as you wish. It possesses excellent durability in a wide range of weather conditions. The downside to this design is that the bolts and wires are stuck in place once the epoxy hardens. The upside is it is the cheapest and highest dielectric of the three methods described here. To raise the dish and coil, you can use an old tree, or you can build a 36-foot pole of PVC or wood to keep the dish high in the air. Do not use metal. You can use guy wires to secure the pole up in the air. You will also want to rig a system to be able to raise and lower the dish depending on your power needs, as well as save it from bad weather. A hinge system works well to get the dish to the desired angle of 40 degrees relative to the ground. See Figure 6b. 40 degrees comes from the concept of angular momentum. You can use a ring joint to secure it. A ring joint, aka a slide joint, is a ring with a grip texture that sits diagonally on a pole in a fixed position. When you push up on the bottom of the ring, the grips loosen and you can slide the ring joint easily down a pole. Point the face of the coil dish to the east. You can find 2-gauge wire from audio, home theater suppliers or on the internet. It is used for custom speaker cable. At least 40 feet of length, 36 feet in the air, 4 feet in the ground. Next you will need a good ground antenna plate. Find a sheet of metal. Gold is best, silver is good, copper is fine, but aluminum will do. That is 2 inches thick and 2 feet wide by 2 feet long. Drill a hole in the center of the sheet. Insert a bolt through and wrap your exposed 2-gauge copper wire around the bolt. If you want, spread some conductive adhesive around the wire so it makes good contact with the sheet. Thread the washer down the bolt so it presses the 2-gauge copper wire against the sheet. Secure the washer with a knot. Bury the sheet in a flat position at least 4 feet deep in the ground, under where your PVC pole will be. You may consider electroplating your ground plate with a more highly conductive metal to give it a conductive skin. Search on YouTube DIY electroplating. Run the 2-gauge copper wire uninsulated wire up through the ground and uninsulated up along the PVC pipe, or cut a hole in the PVC and thread it through the middle of the pipe. Run the 2-gauge copper wire up the pole to the back of the dish. Make a hole in the center of the dish and slide the stripped end of the 2-gauge copper wire through, so it emerges right in the center of the coil. Attach it to the innermost bolt, as mentioned in Fig 4b. See Figure 7. The ground plate has been moved off-center from below the PVC pole, and the 2-wing knot on the coil not drawn for display purposes. Our next step, the first of 2 safety disconnects, 3-phase 600 volt, is a suggestion and was not installed in the original design. I advise you to install one. If you begin to experience time distortion, cut the 2-gauge copper wire around shoulder height from the ground, and install a high-voltage commercial disconnect, aka high-voltage circuit breaker, for your safety and the ability to turn it off. If you can only acquire one safety disconnect, install it here, and wire the 12-volt battery directly to the coil. This is the more important of the two disconnects. Get one rated for the amount of voltage you wish to use. Next, you will need a full-wave bridge rectifier. Wire 4 Schottky full-wave bridge rectifier 95SQ015 diodes, made by Vishay in the configuration of a full bridge wave rectifier shown in Figure 8. 2 wires will be attached to the positive corner, and 1 wire will be attached to the negative corner, and 1 to another corner, to be discussed later. You can buy these diodes online from suppliers such as Mouser, Newark, Jam Eco Electronics. Do a Google shopping search on 95SQ015 diodes. Here is the spec sheet from Vishay. Take the 12-gauge wire from the right wire nut on the outer positive end of the coil and solder it to the positive corner of the full-wave bridge rectifier. See Figure 9. Second bolt not shown on the coil for display purposes. Take the 12-gauge wire of the right wire nut on the inner negative end of the coil and solder it to the negative corner of the full-wave bridge rectifier. See Figure 10. The next component is the large ECM step-down, aka brushless DC motor. An electronically commutated motor is a step-up motor currently used in RC cars. Hobby shops that sell these RC cars can be helpful sources of information on larger motors, as can the internet. The low amount of energy is converted and stepped up to make these vehicles move much faster than the energy required. These motors use the free energy frequencies. They are the power generators. http://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/brushless_dc_electric_motor. The coil is being charged independently of the motor being run. The motor running is an effect on the moving frequencies through the coil and will run indefinitely without using any power from the battery. The battery is merely sitting in this dimension and nothing is happening or training. In the fourth dimension, it has created a magnet attracting the higher dimensional higher frequency energies. Hence we are pushing frequencies through the coil. Pushing frequencies through a fractal shape yields such results as a magnetic vortex to where when the surface of the coil interacts with the higher dimensional energy it funnels that energy towards it. It literally opens a hole in our dimension that sucks the energy into itself. When you reduce the voltage via an ECM, you increase the current. Solder another 12-gauge wire coming out of the positive corner of the full-wave bridge rectifier, and attach it to the positive terminal of the large ECM motor. The bridge rectifier is built very close to the ECM motor. A very short wire connects the two. See Figure 11. There will be 3 wires coming off the negative terminal of the large electronically commutated motor. The first 12-gauge wire goes from the negative ECM terminal to the negative end of a 1N4007 diode. See Figure 12. The second 6-gauge wire goes from the negative ECM terminal to the first positive terminal of a 6-volt lead-acid 6 battery bank wired in series. See Figure 13. To charge these batteries slower, you can do this without the ECM by using the negative side of the rectifier directly going to the first positive terminal of the 6-volt battery bank. Remember, wiring in series increases voltage, wiring in parallel increases amperage. Be careful with high voltage. Wear necessary protection and use caution. The third 12-gauge wire goes from the negative ECM terminal to a specific corner on the bridge rectifier. See Figure 14. Now, solder a 12-gauge wire from the positive white end of the 1N4007 diode and connect to the negative terminal of a 12-volt deep-cycle lead-acid battery. The battery must have an ionization rating of 5 to 6 MHz, which is easy to acquire as all 12-volt batteries have an ionization of 1 to 6 MHz. See Figure 15. Experiment with the charging battery and do not leave it charging indefinitely. Connect a 12-gauge wire from the positive terminal of the 12-volt battery to the positive terminal of the second safety disconnect, circuit breaker, and connect another 12-gauge wire from the negative terminal of the 12-volt battery to the negative terminal of the second safety disconnect. See Figure 16. This is a second theoretical safety disconnect. It is advised for your safety and was not built into the original prototype. Connect another 12-gauge wire coming from the negative terminal of the second safety disconnect to the first of the two wing nuts at the center, negative end of the coil. Connect another 12-gauge wire coming from the positive terminal of the safety disconnect to the left wing nut at the end, positive end of the coil. See Figure 17. For a wiring knot review, take a look at Figures 3B and 4B. Over to the battery bank. Now that you have 6 6-volt batteries connected with 6-gauge wire in series, starting with a 6-gauge connection from the ECM motor. At the end of the bank, the last battery is wired with a 2-gauge wire from the negative terminal of the battery to the negative terminal of a voltage inverter. DC to AC. Get an inverter rated at the voltage you will be using. Then connect with 2-gauge wire the positive terminal of the battery to the positive terminal of the inverter. See Figure 18. Next, connect with the 2-gauge wire the positive terminal of the inverter to the positive high voltage terminal of the flyback transformer. Then connect with the 2-gauge wire to the negative terminal of the inverter to the high voltage negative terminal of the flyback transformer. See Figure 19. You can get these flyback transformers from old CRT monitors. Wire the low voltage positive terminal of the CRT flyback transformer to the positive terminal of an automatic transfer switch. Wire the low voltage negative terminal of the flyback transformer to the negative terminal of the automatic transfer switch. See Figure 20. Use a wire rated for handling 120 volts AC you use for your outlets. Automatic transfer switches are commonly used as solar applications. Solar suppliers can help you buy one. You have now built a cosmic collector. If you need commercial levels of power or bigger, make more coils. Wiring them in series increases the voltage. Wiring them in parallel increases the amperage. The larger the coil, the greater the inductance and the wider the vortex. I suggest all who read this to be aware that the knowledge in your head can now change the world forever. This change is not to the benefit of the elite. They do not wish for this to be and will do anything they can to keep it invisible. So build these for yourselves. I model myself after the great teacher Lieutenant Colonel Thomas E. Bearden, who speaks and instructs as a good old farm boy in an easy-to-understand way that the masses can understand. I got every bit of my information off the internet. If you wish to check out any part of this device, feel free to do so. The information is all there. Good luck. Epilogue. Here are a few notes and ideas related to this device. The device I will describe will be for receiving power from the universe of energy that is omnipresent. This power is emanated from the fourth dimension and can only be seen in our third-dimensional reality. This is only a first-stage dimension for this energy. Everything is phased in threes: Father, the Son, and in the Spirit, which is God, human, and spirit. Or the 369 in Rodin's vortex theory, or the relationship of the musical notes 369, 963, and 693. In vortex theory, the Z-line goes up and separates into three different X, E, and Z axis. The original idea was to make the dish out of ceramic and embed the crystals in the dish, not in the tube. Imagine a dielectric roller of some kind that unrolls as the antenna moves up and spring rolls its way back once it's lowered again. The original ECM motor was like a circular tub with only wires going and coming from the one side. I believe if the crystals were in the dish supported by an arm and U-joint, it would be less interference in the magnetic reluctance and it would have been a lot easier. In my original I didn't even have a dish. That came as something that was needed to keep the antenna stable and secure. Considering coatings for the tube, I wanted to paint them different colors and shoot 12 volts through and see if we could actually read different frequencies as they corresponded to the colors. I also wanted to shoot 12 volts through to see if we tuned the antenna to 7.83 Hz and filled it with crystals. Then we talked about a crystal spray on. I thought that as long as the antenna could provide its own power, it could also shoot energy out and in specific frequencies that can heal. The higher the antenna, the more voltage could be used for a stronger effect. So if I had it to do all over again, I would have never used crystals at all and started with a smaller diameter tube and length. I would have done 1/3 scale at 1/4 tubing and 33 of tubing to be geometrically correct. I never thought 50 feet was the best length, but it was the only length we could quickly get. I wanted the coil to have 9 turns, each turn representing the next dimension. The first turn was the 4th all the way to the 13th. It still worked, but not exactly as I had envisioned. I really think when I envisioned my coil it had 9 turns. The crystal points here are the key to harnessing the mass quantities of Earth resonance, fractal frequency. 7.83 Hz crystals as well as a coil are fractal in their design, which means they are affected by higher dimensions and can emit and harness energies from the top dimensions. Remember that each dimension is phased in threes, the 369 in Rodin's vortex theory, or the relationship of the musical notes 369, 963, and 693. Look up Mandelbrot and see the demonstrations on YouTube. Our bodies are fractal as well, with the pineal gland reigning supreme, in that this is where we receive our higher dimensional energy and information. Once this information is out in the public, I can see that trees will once again be a highly valued member of our world. So much so that our lands are kept free of deforestation. I can see people growing trees with the distinct purpose of hanging these coils and providing free electricity to the neighborhood. The coil was standing out for 2 months, through the rain and lightning at 13 feet, and never saw any oxidation. Height in this system is crucial, and the exact height is defined in dimension. The height of 13 feet and 36 feet. 12 feet is divine, and so is 36 feet. Is that perfect number? The original design was made at 6 feet above sea level. It is in the dimension of the threes, the God strand of the DNA. Tesla nodal points work like this. They start at 6 feet to 36 feet to 216 feet to 1296 feet, and on up. 1 2 FEET equals 1 plus 2 equals 3. 36 feet equals 3 plus 6 equals 9. These are ripples in the universal vortex. Voltage is aplenty, and the frequencies are all present to convert to amperage. Pushing frequencies through a fractal shape yields such results as a magnetic vortex I see a day, when every home has these coils hanging on their front door, when trees, wood and crystals are more precious than gold. Let your mind go with this new knowledge and take us to places we never even dreamed of. I am hoping to get a 3D rendering and superimpose Mark Rodin's skin of the torus on it to make calculation for the highest altitudes and see if we can power the entire world with one device. I can imagine a set of 6 coils being 5 wired to the 1 in the formation of platonic solids. According to a Tesla calculator, http://deepfriedneon.com/Tesla_frame6.html, the copper tubing should be 51.25 feet, with the diameter of the whole coil being was 37.5 inches, close to 3 feet, having 9 turns, creating an inductance of 36 microhenries. This calculator is all based on wire and not copper tubing of this density, but at least it's something to use as a reference. This type of circuit is known as an LC circuit. http://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/LC_circuit. For further reading on transformers, check out The Oscillating Current Transformer by Eric Dollard, http://www.scribd.com/doc/245261744/Eric-Dollard-the-oscillating-current transformer in http://bit.ly/slakgs. Consider combining the free energy circuit with a 4 Henry choke and use the Tesla calculator and tune it to 50 Hz. That is the frequency of the electric company's high voltage transformers used in the US. It will resonate with the electricity running through power lines. Harnessing is the only way we will be able to cheaply move away from fossil fuels. Cosmic rays and neutron stars fuel our ether in a bounty supply for all the world's energy needs. It's as clean as it gets. We can use existing electric lines already in place and feed this energy to everyone. For vehicles we use special electric motors. For homes and boats we use inverters. It's so freaking simple once you understand the correct physics of the universe or the hidden sciences. On radio waves alone you can power an LED. These are lower frequencies. In communications are the range in megahertz, gigahertz, and some THz. Every human in a civilized world is bombarded with these particles every day. Cosmic rays and neutrinos are so far to the highest orders of frequency and therefore have the most and highest potentials and energy. Altitude of the receiver can also adjust the input significantly up to a certain height. Frequencies can make an invisible magnet that can create a vortex that continually sucks in these very high-density, high-energy particles. These particles passed through the Earth are so small and carry so much energy they go right through the Earth and keep on moving through the universe. We can capture and use immediately, or we can store and use for later. Batteries will end up being cast iron stoves with lava in them, but I'm sure we can figure that out as we go. I personally like the use as we harness, but different situations require different applications, the same as a home off the grid. Imagine life without ever having to pay a utility bill. Can you imagine driving your car or truck without the expense of time and money? Retail prices for all goods will come down. Can you imagine a place where everyone who wants to work can get a good job building the new devices for the future? Just one factory in a city could put thousands to work for the next 2 decades. In every city and county, every country and province across the globe, we can put good people to work saving the planet and our economy at the same time. The movement is ready to go global, and with a few friends we will do just that.